1.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time it is, because that's basically what we're going to be talking about today is time itself, the Mobius curve of time. One thing that just stresses me is I'm seeing on social media a lot of these young kids, young kids, that are going into having all kinds of procedures done, fat sucked out of their cheeks so they look like models that they admire, facial surgery. I even heard one case of a 25-year-old having deep plane surgery. I can't even imagine the surgeon that would take this kid on, unless it was, but you never know. But these things are not necessary because our body is designed by nature to last about 150 years cellularly, and aging is simply a loss of cells. We have Dr. Lokhande will explain in a minute what that means about cells dividing and so on and so forth. But in the meantime, my philosophy is like ancient Chinese. You're born and you die. And whatever happens in between is up to you. You don't have to rush around doing preventative surgeries and all of that sort of thing. Because guess what? You pay for them later on down the line when you get older. This fat removal when you're very young, that doesn't come back. Maybe only 30% of it will stay there. But most people wait until they're about 50 and they start having fat put in the face from one donor site, say for instance the muffin tops, into the actual cheekbones, not the reverse. No. It's not the way to handle yourself when it comes to aging. So how long can your skin look good, considering it's the second largest organ of the body? Not the first. I know you've all heard the first. But there is a second one, and which one is that? Fascia, yeah. And there are so many things that contribute to the age phenomenon that we can literally revise any type of situation that we're in when we start looking in the mirror and seeing things we don't like little fine lines that sort of creep up out of nowhere. Oh my God, I'm getting old. You're only 30. Okay, those are very superficial. Or, oh, I'm getting a few lines in the frontalis, the forehead. 25. Superficial. All of these things are totally superficial. So how long can our skin look good? Well, let's see. March 7th, coming up, I'm going to be 80. Now,
Woo!
Mazel
tov!
Oh, and they're planning such a party. I don't even want to show up. But, I'm beginning to feel a little bit like a vampire because years ago when I traveled the world lecturing, age management obviously was the topic that most people were interested in. My interest, personal interest with patients that I would encounter would be acne and dermatitis and other horrible skin anomalies. That's my true passion. So marching a few wrinkles off the face was not a big deal to me at all. And what it takes is a specific type of treatment to replace things that are no longer happening in the skin. Remember, every time you look in the mirror and you see something you don't like, you're looking at defense mechanisms of the skin trying to defend itself against solar damage, against the use of inappropriate products that don't do anything. A lot of things attack daily, free radicals, everything. And so that's why when you see an older woman, like say 85 years old, maybe a grandmother, face is all wrinkled, hyperpigmented, the neck is hanging like a turkey, but down here, close to the areola of her breast, it's much smoother, wrinkle-free, lighter in tone, more even. This is her real age, not this. This has been protected from years of wearing clothes, the simple act of wearing clothes, protecting free radicals coming into the body, solar damage, etc., etc., etc. Face is hanging out there, backs of the hands are hanging out there, and of course they're trying to defend itself. That's why all the things happen that you don't like to happen. Hyperpigmentation, uneven skin tone, all of it. And then of course contribute that to the hormonal cascade that we all go through life. That's under your acne type of situation, and hyperpigmentation. which is a defense mechanism of itself. So how long do you think, let's talk a little bit about the cells and how they divide and why they have almost unlimited lifespan. And the difference between chronological and biological.
So let me use a little bit
Sure.
whiteboard to put some points.
Where's the, oh there it is.
No, we have it.
You guys, we're getting some comments. If we could project a little bit more, we gotta be a little louder.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
what it is today. I think it might
Talk
be
louder!
Scream!
That's kind of weird for me because I usually come in and bellow.
Chronological.
There's got chronological and biological.
And as Danné started with the factor of time, and then let me add one more is space.
Time and space. And I'm going to tell you something at the end of this streaming,
So
dissertation.
chronological, yeah, you are born,
March 7th, 1943.
die, and
Not yet.
considered life, but it's called chronological life.
Right.
And can you do anything about it? No, you're born and you're going to die. Simple. But the biological aging, yes, that's in your control. In control. So what does that mean? That as one can grow chronologically old, doesn't mean that they are growing biologically old. Even the reverse way can be possible.
Well, you know, just let me cut in here, Dr. Lokhande. I was always conscious of taking care of the second largest organ, the skin, since I had that terrible bout of acne back in the 50s when I was 15 years old. It made me very conscious. And I wonder today if my constant approach to taking care of what the skin needs makes me look like this today instead of an old,
Yeah.
79-year-old.
Yes, so as Danné said, it is a proactive effort. Proactive. Very important. It has to be always proactive. You have to be ahead of the curve all the time. Now, what controls the biological age is the time and space. So these are the two controlling factors. Now, time. So we are living on the planet Earth, right? And what we are referring in our wristwatches, clocks, everywhere is the time calibration that is on the Earth. Because Earth revolves around the Sun in its own orbit at certain speed. And that is the basis of our time calibration, right? Simple as that. But the time calibration on the Earth is not the same like other planets in our solar panel. Right? Now, the space travel is going to be so common.
Aha!
That's
Okay, well listen to this, kids.
So
Prophecy.
So, and biological age, again, is determined, the quality of the biological age is determined the gravitational force what we have on the Earth.
Yes. In part, that's what makes everything start to go south as we get older.
Yes. So, once this gravitational force, apart from the Earth atmosphere, becomes like, say, microgravity or zero gravity. Ask all this question to Elon Musk sometime if we have bought the stock.
I'm gonna write, well, it's not just Elon,
Okay.
there's other companies that are going out into space too.
So Jeff Bezos and everyone
Yeah.
is trying to be in that realm. But conclusively, biological age is determined the gravitational force and on the planet Earth with the time and space calibration. Simple as that. Now, what is happening at the cellular level? That why one cell age biologically, not chronologically. Chronologically, it is bound to age, no matter what we do. But the biological aging of a cell happens something called as a terminal growth arrest.
Terminal growth arrest, yes.
Right? So that's where the telomere comes in. That every time a cell divides,
They get shorter.
The telomere gets
And
shorter.
shorter and
Shorter and shorter, and they reach to a point wherein now there is no telomere left at the end of the DNA material, and when the telomere is no more available at
That's it.
the cell die biologically. Simple.
Even if we keep the mitochondria fired up well all the time, still
It is because mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, entire that endoplasmic reticulum is the structure, but the function which is being carried out is by the DNA, right? That every cell cycle the DNA replicates, and why DNA replicates?
Is there any way to slow down telomere shortening?
Yes, so that's where we are now coming to the intervention point, that where exactly we can restrict the biological age of the cell.
There's hope.
So, one is called.
But wait, back up real quickly, just
Yeah.
to tell the audience. So when we travel through space, let's say, and that's coming faster than you think. Just think of think of the 8-track player in your car. Those of you who are baby boomers went to the cassette, boom. Then went to the disc, boom. And then went to no device in the car at all. We use our own because everything's Bluetooth. That all happened in a very short period of time. So this space travel is going to be wide open for therapists just like you to provide treatment because you age faster.
Yes,
when you go
because
on these trips.
the gravitational force is less. It's a microgravity. In the microgravity, the telomere shortening of the cell happens rapidly.
Yeah, so we're actually working on protocol for space travel.
So as the 5 years down the line, you will see, oh, I'm taking a trip to Mars, I'm taking trip to Moon. Common. It's like going to Florida or going to New York or something like that. But you will pay the price on that if you are not proactive about managing your biological age of the skin. So, 4 important points. There is something called as SA beta gap. I will explain what is that. Then there is something called as SASP. The second is called lamina and lamina. Then there is something is called P16 ink 4A. Okay, hold on your breath.
Sabdel and SASP, lamina N, and Inca.
Yes. So these are the markers. These are the markers, biological age markers. So one can now absolutely quantify. Take a cell, say keratinocyte, take a cell, you identify these markers, see the labels, and that can give you the precise biological age of the skin.
Didn't we use some of this in our StemZyme clinical trials?
Yeah, we did in a different way, because we are coming to the intervention point that how the stem cell helps in biological age management, but this is the basis of the biological age management of the skin.
Let me make one thing perfectly clear. We're not talking about plant stem cells, animal, baby, umbilical cord from some third world country stem cells, which is illegal. We're talking about our own stem cells in our own skin that we have managed to do an entire regeneration. And that all involves what Dr. Lokhande is talking about here. It's called StemZyme.
Yes. So, you might have heard the name called senescence. You know what does that mean, senescence? Means growing old. Simple.
I tried to avoid that word.
But senescence is a romanticized word for the growing old. I'm in a senescence phase. Okay, cool. It looks very sexy. Yeah, you're growing old. Okay, anyway. So this senescence, associated beta galactosidase. So as one age, this activity increases. So SAB-GAL increases in the cell. Senescence associated secretive phenotype. These also increase as one the cell grows old. Now, what these SAs are? Cytokines, MMPs, interleukins, different kind of factors comes in the family. lamina, nuclear lamina. This is a very, very important thing, and that's what we exactly do in all DMK enzyme therapies. I will explain what. So, this is the cell, this is the nucleus. Consider this as a young cell, biologically young. Now, this is the cell, this is the nucleus, this is old. Now, in the nucleus there is a DNA, or we call the nuclear material. Now, this lamina, nuclear lamina, is the inner protective membrane of the nucleus, which holds the entire genetic material intact in the nucleus. And as the cell grows young to old, this
starts to fray,
degrading, and this genetic material start coming
out where it doesn't belong
to where it should, right? So instead of getting into the nucleus, now it is present in the cytoplasm. Now, as long as you are protecting this membrane, you are really doing something great about the biological age. But it's easier said than done. Who can reach over here? Your microneedling can reach? No. Your deep chemical peel can reach? No. Your micro-channeling can reach? No.
That's another word for microneedling. It's just, micro-channeling.
Last 55 plus years, entire DMK family across the world is protecting this nuclear membrane. With what? Our E1, E2 and E3 therapy. Enzyme 1, enzyme 2, enzyme 3.
Enzyme 3.
And what does enzyme therapy do? They create a piezoelectric effect constantly. And this piezoelectric effect creates the negative bioelectric potential across the nucleus, and this negative bioelectric potential avoids all kinds of inflammation and the degradation of the nuclear membrane.
This, by the way, is just a tip of the iceberg of the boot camps that Dr. Lokhande and I are going to conduct across the country starting next year.
Yes.
Some of this material. So our problem will be, not a problem, but we will try to analogize it as much as possible. But the more you listen, the more you study with the notes that we provide and see things in practical demonstration, the more you'll understand it, and it'll just become like brushing your teeth every day. This will, what appears to be a little bit like Greek here will become very simple. And you'll go, oh, that's so logical. Why am I using a microneedling stamp causing a field of blood on my face?
In fact, all the technique, microneedling or microchanneling, whatever that DS is, then chemical fields, then microdermabrasion or dermaplaning and all that, they in fact create, instead of the negative bioelectric potential across the nucleus, the positive one. And the positive bioelectric potential, boom, inflammation, boom, inflammation.
Yeah, I think some therapists and doctors, because I have a great many doctor colleagues all around the world, and a lot of them are DMK doctors now, they see the effects of erythema and edema. The skin swells a little bit and say, oh, the lines are less, and oh, it looks healthy and bouncy and flushed. It's the healing mode. That's all that is. Later on down the line, the true aspects of what's actually happened to the skin starts to show up.
Yes, and skin knows the best how to take vengeance. You are assaulting me, I will show you what I can do with
revenge.
Revenge, yeah.
Revenge of the skin.
So we call biovengeance,
Is that an actual? Did you make that up?
Yeah.
I knew it. This young physician, doctor, brilliant chemist, brilliant bioengineer, has made up some of the most fabulous terms. My copyright lawyer is working night and day trying to copyright those terms. Oh my
See,
God.
we always do out of the box thing at DMK. Otherwise, then we are not a part of DMK. Simple as that.
But it's not really out of the box, Jay. It's really what the body is.
Yes.
That's what makes me so angry with some of these fake popular trends and everything. It's not what it is, it's what sounds right. I remember one educator telling me, I say, why are you teaching the class this way? I'm not going to go into any details. She actually said to me, because that's what the therapists want to hear. I go, I don't give a crap. Oops, sorry. Well, remove that cuss word in the edit. I don't care about what the therapists want to hear. I want to teach the therapists so they are empowered to go on to bigger and better things and make people's lives completely change. And it's not the therapist's fault. Nobody's presenting anything in any kind of logical or scientific way.
Yeah.
When you first got into just quickly, I'm going to say this little anecdote. When I first brought this young man into this business, he was in the very boring business of bioengineering and science and supercritical extractions of botanics and all of that, writing books that were like, you know.
Yeah, only 100 people across the globe can read it.
And when I brought him into this business, because I had an instinct that this is what I needed in my older years to back up my concepts and bring the fresh new look, which he has more than done, and kind of build him into a superstar, because he's a very humble man. And the first time I had him up in front of a group of people, he said, well, I wasn't there. We sent him, I think, Boston or somewhere. And he called me up and he goes, Danné, after I did my speech, he says, I walked around to the different stands, people were selling things. I can't believe it. 98% of your business is bull, BS. And he said it in a nice way. He wasn't criticizing or anything. He just was in shock. You know, is this what this industry really is? I go, yes, Jay, now you know why it's important that you be on my team, because I'm tired of being the only one traveling the earth, you know, well, not the only one, but one of the only ones. We have other great speakers and educators as well. So anyway, back to...
And now this P16E4A, this is dangerous. This is a notorious molecule. You should not have this anywhere in the body, not only in the skin, because most of the 60% of the cancers are
come from that.
And what increases this percentage of the, intensity in the skin is photo damage, oxidant damage,
Microfusion.
microbiome dysbiosis,
Yeah.
inflammation, and we call iatrogenic procedure. Iatrogenic means which are induced by the professional community, like microneedling, microdermabrasion, deep chemical peels, etc., etc. These all are causing to increase the level of P16E4A. And what this P16E4A does, there is something called as HMGB1, high mobility group in box 1. So what this is, the protein which is present in the nucleus initially in the young cell gets out in the cytoplasm, and then the cell die. It's called apoptosis.
Yeah.
Very good word. Apoptosis happens prematurely in the young cell, and that's all. And if you see that under the electron microscope, the young skin and the old skin, I'm saying biological young skin and old skin, in the young skin, this is the basement membrane, right? Here is the dermis, papillary, reticular dermis, then hypodermis, all fats, and this is the epidermis. Now, immediately above the basement membrane, these are the spinosum, stratum spinosum, right? So in young cell, these cells are really nice, vertical, rectangular, solid, turgid. As it grows old, it starts flattening. Like this dimension becomes like this.
And when completely flat, dead.
And completely flat dead. So, and as long as you are maintaining this spinous layer integrity well, even at the age of 120 years, chronologically, your skin can look like what you were at 25 to 30. No exaggeration. No exaggeration.
You mean there's hope for me?
Oh, absolutely. Because
because I'm ready for my 4th stem cell.
Yes. Now coming back to what we can do practically to maintain this integrity in the structure and the function of the skin. First, very first, maintain good piezoelectricity.
Now, one of the things that we're going to be teaching is how to apply topical formulas, or products, whatever you want to call them, along the Langer lines of the face. It's not a unique concept, actually. It is unique to the beauty therapy business, or the beauty business, or aesthetic business, but it's not unique to plastic surgeons. They use this all the time as a guideline where they're going to do their incisions, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
And if we teach application, the proper way to apply, most people put creams on their patients, lotions, serums, whatever. They dot it and the massage, and most of it ends up in the perimeters of the face. And not even sometimes into the valleys and other areas where the face is a depressed area, then there's a higher point and so on. The best way to apply anything at all, once you have it placed, is to potement. That's why I think that's why the French designed it.
Yeah,
they were smart.
It's quite scientific.
Yeah,
it's very scientific because you deposit, not wash it.
Like that.
So healthy piezoelectricity across all the skin. Number 2 is called SCF, stem cell factor. Okay. Now, by the way, this piezoelectricity also increases cellular proliferation. Second, it avoids premature apoptosis. And third, it decrease inflammation. Very, very important. Okay. Stem cell factor for the regeneration of all the skin tissue. Third, microbiome correction all the time. Very important.
You know, I didn't realize the importance of this until we got into this field. I'm not going to bother to take the time to tell the story of how I was actually forced into the field, but I'm glad I was, because the microbiome is the ecosystem of the whole skin. And it depends on, anytime you have a big resurfacing procedure, let's say even the old CO2 laser or anything like that, or a chemical, you lay waste to everything on the tissue. Now, we do that in some of our treatments sometimes, but we also know to bring everything back and balance the microbiome into homeostasis. That's the most important thing, okay? But once you remove everything through a big, heavy-duty traumatic treatment, whoever gets to that field first, from the various types of microbiomes, components, rules the land. And if the good guys get there first, then gorgeous, your skin is, boom, back to homeostasis and health. If the bad guys get there first, you're in all kinds of trouble. You can have malassezia, skin funguses, virus, all kinds of things can take over. That's when you see some of your clients coming in with this chronic redness all the time. Many times inappropriately diagnosed as rosacea, and it really isn't rosacea at all. You know, that's why using a microbiome in your treatment is a good diagnostic tool.
Yes, both. It's a theranostic, therapeutic and diagnostic.
Yeah.
Therapeutic and diagnostic, you know. So any unusual condition you see in your client, or the client is not responding at all, no matter what you are doing. Okay, first thing, microbiome dysbiosis. Correct that microbiome dysbiosis, create a new canvas, and then start again.
Yeah.
Okay, very simple, very important note. Fourth, make each and every small and big effort to curb the inflammation down. Very, very important. Everything starts with the inflammation. Very important. You are doing best of the best treatment, you are doing everything, but the inflammation index is constantly high. It will nullify all the efforts. Okay. So when you keep these 4 points real well in your head and implement all the strategies and the nice techniques and all that on your client, you are really doing something called a proactive biological aging management.
Which means your client doesn't have to rush out to the nearest plastic surgeon to lipo-suck the fat out of their face.
Yes. And even if you do that and you don't do this, that all the plastic surgeries, the reconstruction surgeries and whatever you are doing will be down the drain.
Well, because
Maybe it won't sustain.
yeah, all that is the removal of tissue or fat cells. It's nothing to do with the skin itself. That's what surgery is.
Yes, so this is a very comprehensive macroscopic view of the biological age management of the skin. We can go deeper and deeper. I mean, we can talk just entire 72 hours just on the piezoelectricity. It is that deep. But we'll cover down the line in our Q&A session, each and every topic. But this was just to give you a good confidence and where exactly you can make the difference in your clinic or in your office practice, whatever you're doing, that what interventing point you can consider in true age management.
Well, we've got questions to answer. The first one comes from, some of these I've talked to you before. Hi. I love questions. You know, when I first went to China many years ago, I was confronted by a class with young students just staring at me blankly. And then nobody asked any questions. Now, I happen to know that Chinese people are very bright and very studious. They study 24/7. But I felt very strange. And suddenly it occurred to me what was really going on. It's the loss of face syndrome. That's very common in Asian tradition. They were afraid to ask a question for fear of it coming out wrong, and then they'd lose face, or for fear of being a stupid question, and then they would lose face. No. There's no such thing as a stupid question, because it's just something that somebody doesn't know and they want an answer. So it's not stupid. What's stupid is not asking questions. So I told my first group, I says, okay, I know about your loss of face tradition. So if nobody asks any questions and you have your exam at the end of this lecture, I will post the results in the hallway of how many have failed because you don't know the answer. The hand starts
Trigger.
And from that point, the word must have spread through China, because all these 25 years have been going back to China. They're rushing up and asking questions. So questions are good. The first question from Glow Studio Spa. What's better for aging skin, A1 aesthetic lift program or DMK muscle banding? Well, first of all, I don't know where you took your course. Sometimes things can be misconstrued. The A1 aesthetic lift is just naming a 12-week program. You know, it's a brand name, A lift. It's not a protocol. What the A1 aesthetic lift means is whatever you can do during a 12-week period to seek the improvement that you and your client have talked about and what she or he wants and what you've decided on to do. And that could be a choice of many of the DMK treatments, including muscle banding.
Yeah.
The muscle banding is merely part of the enzyme 1, 2, and 3 protocol, where the client is just starting to sag a little bit here or there. Not like an older person where everything's sagging. So what it does, when it's placed from one part of the muscle to the exit part of the muscle, it starts to fire motor neurons across the muscle in rapid asynchronous motion. And the more motor neurons fired, the more muscle tissue builds. It's like
piezoelectricity.
And the piezoelectricity as well, like Dr. Lokhande mentioned. It's like doing this. We must increase the bust. Remember that old exercise? It was Jacques Lalanne, I think, used to teach this, where you work muscle on muscle because you have resistance and the muscle build. Zapping the face with microcurrent does not really build muscle. What it does is kickstart. So we do use the microcurrent occasionally with our enzyme 1, 2, and 3 banding. We never do banding on its own. It's always done in conjunction with 1, 2, and 3. And in your manuals, there's specific reasons why and what's going on during that procedure. So when you say muscle banding, it's not a treatment on its own. Another little thing, too, you have to consider, going back to the older people that are sagging all at once, we found over the years, I found many years ago, that when we do enzyme 1, full face, first treatment, they come back a few days later, depending on their schedule and then reactions and so on, and then you can book them for banding full face, enzyme 2 and 3 full face, avoiding the oris oculus and the oris orbicularis, because those muscles are round. And we don't know which way they're going to contract. What if they went like that? And that did happen to me once with an older woman in Newport Beach years ago. Oh my God, I had to work like a dog to get rid of that. She'd go into a local piano bar. She'd say, oh, there's Danné. He made my eyes look like Crackle-lack. Oh. Live and learn. All of this didn't come to me like that. It took years. But anyway, so muscle banding, full face, we wouldn't call it banding then. It's just the enzyme 2 with 3 over it to create that pseudo heat that carries the action deeper. And then they come back again 3 days later and have, or whatever the time schedule, and have enzyme 1 by itself. That works better on people that are sagging all at once. But banding merely means if someone's just starting to get a little droopy in certain parts of the face where your muscle is, you focus on that while the rest of the face has enzyme 1. Okay, got it? Best product, oh, someone else tell. Nisha Whiteman. Best products for skin of color, breakouts, and hyperpigmentation. You know, we're putting together a program, which I'll be launching again next year. I've been working with black and darker toned skins for many years, since the 70s. I did my early research in Chicago. I actually taught in black beauty schools that didn't even have aesthetics program back then. They just asked me to come in and do lectures on the differences of black skin, Caucasian skin, Asian, etc. Because there are biological differences. There's no set line of products. There are certain things you have to address. And we are going to address that with a new program called Black Skin Matters. And I really don't even want to do this program because I hate putting labels on anything, because we treat every type of skin imaginable. We do know, for example, that in your country, the darker Southern Indian have very fragile skin.
Yeah, not the way around.
You look at them cross-eyed and they hyperpigment. We have to be very careful with our treatments on it. But up in the north, the golden skin people, we can do everything. You know, actually, black skin is the strongest skin in the world.
Yes, and
it has more rapid cell proliferation, everything.
Yeah.
You know, so yes, there's no best products for that. Although I would say that we do have one. I hate to mention a product, but I will mention one product. Cream Citrique, because it's a low pH.
Yeah.
And it brightens up the ashy tones that are so common. So if for your daily nutritive cream, I would say Cream Citrique. But the treatments would be contingent upon your particular age. All of that goes along with it.
Yeah, I mean, we have so many protocols in pigmentation, Bihaku and I mean, tons of it. So
now, while the new Stemzyme is suitable for black skin in a
totally
big way,
big time.
When do you know how to change mixers? Should we always start with Aqua de Herbs always first? Okay. All right. Aqua de You never put a peel on a peel. So Exoderma Peel, which is a mixer, but it does also many other things too. Over the years, I've used it as a pH adjuster when I'm doing the Pro Alpha 6 layer peel. Okay, if I'm working under the chin, which could be a little bit sensitive, I don't want as much action, I put a little Exoderma Peel in there to bring the pH actually up a little bit. It's like a buffer. It can be done by itself as a quick refresher if you're on a trip and you're staying in a hotel and you have a big appearance the next day and you look like crap because you're tired. You can cleanse your face with your DMK cleanser, put a thin layer of Exoderma Peel, lay down for a few minutes, rinse it off, and what it does, it's a natural plastic. We get it from the inside of the Bermuda kelp. It's a methicellulose, so it acts like a natural plastic. When it dries, it hardens around dead cells, and when you rinse it off, it pulls a few of those off, okay? So that, in essence, is kind of like a very mild removal peel. So if you're just doing an enzyme 1 on a client, they're not particularly old or have any bad skin anomalies or anything like that, then you mix Exoderm Peel, right? You do that at home too with your foamy lift mask that you sell your client. But if you're working with enzyme 1, 2, and 3, without the Exoderm Peel, let's say, because classically with enzyme 1, 2, and 3, we do a pre-exfoliative.
Yeah.
We'll do Quick Peel, or the new Cryo Peel X, or Prozyme.
Quick Peel.
Yeah, Prozyme. So those are all pre-exfoliants. So in that case, you wouldn't want to mix Exoderm Peel with your enzymes. You mix Aqua de Herbs as the mixer because it's just water with herbs in it. And it allows everything to go in and penetrate and do its job. You've already lifted off the old cuticle with your Prozyme or your Cryo Pro X. Or
Pre-treatment,
yeah. Okay, so this is funny. Well, it's not funny. Does massaging the skin cause breakdown?
Oh, pounding, hammer. You know that.
Well, it depends on how you define the word massage.
Massage is crushed by the.
I know why they get. Listen, no, this is not funny. I know where this therapist gets these because they're so. Yes, if you're doing deep rolfing on someone aggressively, certainly you're going to fracture some collagen fibers. That's totally unnecessary. If you're referring to facial massage, which is designed for that, no.
Yeah.
No, I think I know where they're coming from. We've always said don't do any massage after enzyme 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right. What this means is, when you have a client coming in for the very first time, you want to really impress them because you want them to realize what's going on with your treatment and you want them to come back. So now you've done 1, 2, and 3. There's some compression in 2 and 3. After the treatment is over, there is some compression.
Yeah.
Okay, and so the face is elevated. So you don't want to apply your CBE and Urban Mineral Mist and serums and creams with a heavy massage to push all that back down. You want them to look in the mirror and go, oh, I notice a difference right away. Now, continued treatments will bring about a more permanent difference anyway. But you might have gotten that from one of our manuals. It doesn't mean it breaks the collagen. It means it just pushes the compression down.
Collagen is a very heavy molecule.
Yeah, it's
a very
strong.
robust molecule.
Well, it has to be. It's the infrastructure of
Yeah,
our
it's the
skin.
entire matrix is the collagen and the elastin.
Yep. Without those, you have nothing. So no, don't be afraid to massage. You're not going to break any collagen. Essential skin and body. How long does a patient have to wait after filler or Botox
Good question.
to receive? And we just talked about it.
Yeah.
To receive enzyme therapy, I've heard a lot of conflicting opinions.
No, for fillers, enzyme therapy can happen within 18 hours. In fact, we recommend as soon as you have a filler, you should. Are some of the dermatologists they are doing right there?
Yeah.
I mean filler and then immediately after filler they.
Well, let me explain why.
Yeah.
Any people who have had fillers, what does the doctor, the practitioner do? Let's say you have your nasolabials filled up, okay? They go right in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Physically they
trying to
distribute.
distribute. Well, that's what the enzyme will do automatically. So yeah, you can go ahead and do it right after. Botox after the treatment, always after the treatment, okay? Because you're creating all kinds of chemical ions in the skin, circulation, etc. It could easily dilute or even interrupt the action of the toxin. Because remember, Botox works like this. You have nerve endings controlled by the brain called ganglia. They don't really touch the muscles. There's always a little synapse right there between the end of the ganglia, the nerve ending, and the muscle.
Okay.
And the brain says, move, and the synapse moves, and the muscle moves, okay? What the toxin does is interrupts that synapse for...
Blocks.
Yeah, blocks it for a few months. So that group of muscles goes to sleep. Now, if the doctor, the practitioner who's injecting is clever, they will depend on the art of compensation, because if you're putting X, Y, and Z muscles to sleep, the peripheral muscles on each side that have not been injected will say, oh, these guys are asleep. We have to work harder. And that
Yeah.
way you can actually achieve upper bluff looks and all kinds of things.
Dystonia.
Yeah.
Dystonia.
Yeah, if you're good.
And when you are doing enzyme therapies after Botox, please do only E1. Don't do muscle banding for 1 month, because muscle banding will ignite the ganglia, and Botox is like suppression. There is a tussle going. So don't do muscle banding, only E1.
That's a
only
good point.
E1.
Yeah, that is a good point. Something I should have thought of. No, but I always, in fact, we used to have a program years ago in Germany called Beyond Botox, because that's when it was really getting popular, and
That's nice.
where they would bring them in, have a DMK treatment first, and then do the injection. Because what happens psychologically, the patient has never had anything done to their skin before, right? Not anything like what we do, facials maybe. And they heard that Botox is going to remove all these big lines and wrinkles. So they make an appointment, the doctor tells them now, this won't show up for 3 to 10 days, just be patient. Oh yeah, I've heard about that, yeah. Well, after 3 days they don't see anything, and then maybe 4 or 5 days they see a little bit less, and finally they notice that their deep lines are somewhat smoothed out, but it costs a lot of money and it's not such a big deal that they'd hoped for. Many times they go, well, I don't really need that, and they don't go back. However, if they have a DMK treatment first, which actually does create a result of the whole skin, then they get the Botox. And they go home and look in the mirror, and they look better in the mirror than they did before they went to the doctor because of the treatment. Oh, everything's working. Then it has a chance to kick in, and by the time they're all through, they're happy, and they associate that experience with that DMK doctor, and they go back each time, keep up their enzyme treatments, have Botox, etc.
Yeah.
So
So you can definitely integrate well all our enzyme therapies with Botox and the filler. Timing, the pacing is very, very important. So for the fillers, immediately after fillers, on the same table you can do it. For Botox, give a pace of 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah.
Now, do you have any certificates for international students that can be done online?
I don't know.
I don't know
It's
that.
a good question though. We will check and let you know. We are
I
not
don't think
on
so.
this.
Each distributor in each country runs their own DMK business. And they have their qualification. Of course, we have our standards. They all have to adhere to our standards, of course. And all the educational material, everything comes from here, and then is translated into many foreign languages and so on and so forth. And I keep up on it because I travel to those countries and do special lectures and appearances. And so I can always tell when something's not right. And I'm very loud about, wait, you haven't been doing your treatments correct. But they don't get mad. Anyway, I don't think so. Because,
No, there is no online.
I don't think so. First of all, America is controlled by state boards. Okay, and nobody can become a DMK therapist at all unless they have their state board license.
Yeah.
That little
That's
piece-
the prerequisite, and then
Yeah.
you go through different programs,
Yeah.
fundamental, P1, then DMK.
I mean, you can take the classes online, this and that and the other. You know, I would contact headquarters about that, because we have had some foreign people that were really good with DMK in their own country.
Yeah, Australia was doing some online, but they were just like short courses, not the entire class. No, entire class happens in classroom, in person, with the hands-on demonstration, everything. So
Yeah.
we don't do
No, but
that.
I was just thinking though of someone who's a top DMK therapist or doctor. Like, what's her name up in San Francisco? Ukraine.
Valeria.
Valeria,
Yeah.
brilliant dermatolog in Ukraine, or
Yeah.
doctor, dermatologist. And she came here, and of course she'd have to do all this going to classes and have to get reciprocity, which I think is stupid, but never mind. And so she didn't do that. She went right into doing DMK because she did it in Ukraine. It was very successful. I told her to put her MD on her business card. She goes, am I allowed? I said, hell yes. That's what you are. You're an MD. Come on. All right. What does Danné think about, what do I think about microchanneling with bone marrow? Oh,
Oh, boom and boom.
Boom.
Refine and boom.
Okay,
No.
let's aspirate my bone marrow out of my hip, and then bam, right in the face. Oh no, honey, our Mister, it's Julie. Julie, whoever told you that? I mean, I'm so sorry. There's so much misinformation. Talk about politics. Jeez, conspiracy theory. I don't think about it at all. I've actually had stem cell therapy in a torn meniscus in my knee, where they did aspirate my own bone marrow from my hip, no anesthetic, and it worked for about a year. It did rebuild my meniscus quite a bit.
For the skin it doesn't, and
Yeah.
that's why we have in-touch enzyme about it, that every human organ has their own stem cells. So skin has its own stem cell called epidermal adult stem cell. So what you require is the adult stem cell, and that comes from only from that organ. So there is no way that you can put any bone marrow transplant or this and that, because they are pluripotent in nature, and you require that pluripotency to go to the adulthood, and that path is so long and so intricate and so tricky. Most of the time it fails. That's why the stem cell lift procedure fail 98% time, because they use not the correct type of cell. You have your own stem cell. What you need to just activate them, regenerate them, and differentiate them into the skin tissues. Very simple. So
Yeah, it wouldn't do anything. And by the way, where are they getting the bone marrow?
yeah,
If it's human, it's illegal. You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
Totally illegal. Okay. And here is from my lips, my lips. My dear doctors, what do you think about the combination of DMK procedures and LED
Oh,
therapy?
very good.
Yeah, no, it is good.
Yeah.
Every modality like LED has its own little energy.
Blue and red.
Yeah,
So.
and it enhances what we're doing. It's just an extra helping hand.
Yeah, so remember this ground rule with the LED therapy, that the blue light and the red light. So blue light, cell proliferation, red light for curbing the inflammation down. Important. So now you can use both the tools. Say you are working with the hyperpigmentation, what you got to use? Both, blue and red. But if you are working on the microbiome dysbiosis, red, not blue, because then you will proliferate the bad cell. No good, right? So
Yeah, because it also kills bacteria.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, definitely all the DMK treatments can get integrated with the blue and red, but there is a little bit. I think Danné, we should just do one session on this. This
Yeah,
is
we
very
should.
important. Yeah, we
And-
will capture the more details on this, but remember this ground rule: blue light, cell proliferation; red light, bringing the inflammation down.
What's the name of that wonderful company? I met the owners in Australia, this dear couple, man and wife. They waited 2 hours to meet me personally in a queue in an exhibition. Light stem.
Life, yeah, we still, I think
We use that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We-
No, I'm not pushing any particular company. We don't have stock in Lifestem, but they are good. They back up their product. They're great with their education on it. They showed a lot of respect to me because they know I'm not a big machine person. I'm a chemical person, and yet their apparatus really does deliver the goods
Yeah,
along with our
because
treatments.
they emit a specific wavelength
Yeah.
from 220 nanometer to 270 nanometer.
Yeah.
Because remember this, that all the blue and the red lights are not same. If they are doing the non-ionizing radiation, no, then you are absolutely doing the wrong thing. So the wavelength, so whichever instrument you are using, see the wavelength, write back to us, and we will tell you whether these are correct or not the correct wavelengths. Okay.
But I do. They have all of their
Yes.
ducks in a row, so to speak. So I highly recommend.
Yeah.
Life
No, and
stem.
I happened to talk with their educator in some show, in ICES show in Las Vegas.
Oh, okay.
And that lady, I asked all this question, hey, does your all the lights emit the specific wavelength, or it's just the entire spectrum and you don't know where it is going? No, she said very specific wavelength. Yeah,
No,
so
I
they
heard
liked
that
about
good
it.
company. Well, that ties us up for this particular Q&A with Danné and Dr. J. Danné and Dr. J.
Woo!
DJ.
So again, till next time, just remember, knowledge is power.
Yes.
And no amount of promotion or publicity or trend or anything else you may hear will take the place of true knowledge. So keep seeking, keep looking, keep reading, and keep listening. Thank you.
Period.
Thank you.